So are you a mum or a dad trying to get back into running or have an injury and want to get into running? So having kids can be quite challenging and very time consuming. Little did we know. I have 2 kids of my own and I can tell you now, yes, it can have certain challenges, but I'm here to give you some quick tips in order to get you back into running and kind of minimize time away. So top tip number 1. So make sure that you get back to balance and stability. So imagine you've got balance at one end and mobility at the other. So if you go on Instagram or anywhere, mobility training is rife everywhere. You can basically click on anything and there's some mobility training. But people don't want to focus on stability or the balance type training. They're both 2 ends of the spectrum. If I have too much mobility, then I'll have excessive movement. That can lead to injury. If we've got too much stability, then the joints will be too stiff. That can also lead to certain types of injury. So we need bang in the center. So getting back out to running, you need to do some single leg work and you need to do some mobility, so mobilize through your hips and your feet and ankles, and in return, your knees will just do what they're told anyway. So, and on top of that, you can also mobilize your spine. Trusty old spine just here. So stability work, single leg work, make it dynamic. It's not just a case of doing yoga and doing a tree pose. Make sure that if you're standing on one leg, you're moving around. So it could be things like single leg deadlifts, single leg hops, multi-directional hops. It's important that you get the nervous system hardwired to be reactive for the changes in ground which you're about to have when you get back to running. So with myself, I live in a village, there's undulating grounds, I go across fields, my ankle and foot is constantly doing this. So I need to train it to be able to compensate when I do that. We know that ultra runners especially have notoriously sprained ankles. So we need to kind of make sure that we're getting some sort of bulletproofing or some Kevlar on our future running escapades. Top tip number 2, build volume and intensity gradually. It is the number 1 training error in terms of getting re-injured. So make sure that you start with a light jog. If it's your first run back in a few months, just go around the block, test out the hardware, test out your legs, see what they're doing, build up gradually. Keep zone 2 for a good few months. I would say stay at zone 2 for at least 3 months. Then once a week, add an interval session, an interval or a hill session. Don't add both together. And then you build it up slowly from there. Think about the requirements of the competition that you're in. Is it a marathon? Is it an ultra run? Then zone 2 is going to be your bread and butter. If it's something more pacey, like a 5 or 10K, then maybe you do need to start to integrate more intervals, but this will be at a much later date. Okay, so build slowly. Top tip number 3, and lastly, strength and conditioning. Notoriously, distance runners don't like to do strength and conditioning, and what they call strength and conditioning is more circuit training. Circuit training is not strength and conditioning, it's circuit training. Strength and conditioning is things like your squats, your deadlifts, your lunges, you push, pull, some rotational work in there, but you plyometrics. So you plyometrics on single leg. So you do a depth jump, so you can hop off a step. As soon as your leg hits the floor, you explode up. Multi-directional, but you need to include movement variation and you need to be lifting weights. That means lifting above what you normally would do. And we know that people who practice strength and conditioning and you only need twice a week, are less likely to have any future injuries. So they're my 3 top tips to future-proof your running and get you back safe and sound. Bye.